The ash of a dying world is not merely debris, it is the fertile, soot-stained soil from which legends are forced to germinate. And in Reborn, the scorching, high-stakes fourth movement of Jada Fisher's Rise of the Black Dragon saga, the boundaries between extinction and apotheosis are burned away. Fisher, the iron-willed architect of this draconic, cataclysmic odyssey, delivers a visceral, deeply intense and soul-searing masterpiece that treats the dragon's fire as the final, absolute arbiter of destiny. This isn't a story of casual fantasy progression or convenient magical resurrection. It is a rapid-fire, deeply intense plunge into the logistical nightmare of surviving in a realm where the laws of nature are being systematically rewritten by the primal, obsidian fury of a reawakened apex predator. The perilous collision between a protagonist's mortal fragility and the cold, terrifying majesty of a reality that demands total transformation, and the terrifying truth that when you are reborn in the shadow of a black dragon, you aren't just gaining power, you are becoming a permanent, living scar on the fabric of existence. Fisher hooks the audience instantly by constructing a high-stakes, hyper-focused trap. A survivor, hardened by the systematic collapse of their world, finds themselves thrust into a crucible where memory, loyalty, and their own humanity are being systematically incinerated by the proximity of a god-tier draconic catalyst. The narrative center zeroes in on the protagonist's methodical, high-pressure descent into the rebirth, a state of heightened, soul-splitting integration with the draconic essence that acts as both a death sentence for their past self and the only viable conduit for surviving the encroaching, divine-level annihilation. As they traverse the shattered, obsidian-scarred ruins of the old kingdoms and the dangerously unpredictable, flame-drenched wastes of the New Order, they realize that their evolution is not merely a biological necessity. It is a systemic catalyst that is drawing out the ancient, rival draconic entities that view the rise of the Black Dragon as an inefficiency to be purged from the world. The investigation into the sudden, artificial intensity of the dragon's rebirth quickly escalates into a dangerous, high-stakes tactical chess match as they discover that the forces behind the world's collapse are already embedding themselves within their own fragile and rapidly mutating ranks. Forced to juggle the logistical nightmare of maintaining a coherent, trusting bond, the constant, suffocating threat of temporal erasure, and the mounting, undeniable tension between their own emerging draconic nature and their dwindling human impulses, they must synthesize a new way of existing, one built on profound, elemental vulnerability, radical, improvised devotion to the flame, and an unyielding, purely human refusal to be overwritten by the crystalline, infinite void. Fisher's writing style is unapologetically atmospheric, exceptionally fast-paced, and saturated with an intense, authentic blend of draconic lore technicality, cinematic dread, and high-stakes elemental fantasy. She builds exceptional structural tension by pairing the mundane, aching routines of survival, tending to the fading, immortal spark, navigating the shifting, glass-like maze of the dragon's domain, and enduring the quiet, crushing weight of constant, vigilant isolation, with the chaotic, nightmare-filled assaults of the world-altering, draconic reality-warping vistas. The story moves forward with a relentless, momentum-driven energy, turning routine analytical probes, calculated maneuvers through the frozen, heavenly landscape, and tense, high-stakes standoffs with reality-warping entities into pulse-pounding steps closer to an inevitable, reality-defining confrontation. The presentation thrives on this sharp, emotional focus, making every discovered clue, every executed maneuver, and every deep-seated fear confronted feel like a high-stakes victory for the human spirit. What makes Reborn an exceptional entry in the modern dragon fantasy canon is Fisher's unparalleled ability to develop a highly compelling, logic-driven heroine whose emotional resilience becomes a supreme navigational asset rather than a tragic, fading memory. Watch as she transforms her experience with the unnatural into a compass, learning to navigate the chaotic field to outmaneuver an entity that operates with absolute, terrifying precision. as the structural walls of their reality begin to collapse and the true scope of the rise threat is exposed, the pacing transforms into a breathless, heart-pounding race to maintain the shred of truth they carry before their consciousness is permanently unstitched by the cold, draconic machinery. The final act is an absolute masterclass in suspense, delivering a barrage of explosive emotional realizations, shattered paradigms, and a spectacular, jaw-dropping climax that completely leaves the reader thoroughly stunned. For fans of thrillers demanding a brilliant, character-driven, and masterfully paced exploration of love, myth, and divine power, this book delivers an unforgettable shockwave.